Hey everybody, it's Kaldheim, and welcome back to some more Magic Arena. Today I'll be playing another quick draft of Kaldheim, and we get started off with a pretty easy pack one, pick one. The Bears of Liara is an incredibly powerful saga. For 3 mana, you're going to get a 2/2. The next turn, you're going to turn all of your shapeshifters into 4/4s permanently. That does include the 2/2 you just made. And then on the third part of this, you can have each creature with power 4 or greater you control deal damage equal to its power to target creature or planeswalker. So this is a potential 2-for-1, and at worst, most of the time, this is at least a 3 mana 4/4. So anytime this completely pops off, it's going to be absolutely ridiculous. 3 mana for a 4/4 that deals 4 damage to an opposing creature, but sometimes your opponent can have that cheap removal like the 1 mana Frostbite here to go ahead and kill your 2/2 before it becomes a 4/4, but for the most part, the upside is so much worth the downside of that potentially happening. And even if that happens, it's still a 1-for-1. You've traded your Bears of Liara for their Frostbite from their hand, so this is a super powerful card. Strongest card in the pack. If we look at the commons here, if this Bears of Liara was not here, Frostbite and Squash are excellent removal spells in this format. Mistwalker is a pretty great creature, as is Masked Vandal. Masked Vandal's nice and flexible, good against the aggro decks and the slower grindy decks because you get rid of those artifacts and enchantments. Mistwalker's just good against both decks as well because of that fire-breathing ability. Other than that, not too much going on in this pack. Carter's Vicious Return could be fun, but I think it's probably weaker than just taking one of the mono-colored cards. And then Doomscar Titan can be a finisher in a red deck. Pick 2 here is a pretty awkward follow-up to the Bears of Liara. We really see absolutely nothing that's going to synergize with that. If we want to just stick to green-blue, our best 2 options here are to take an Eyeside Troll or an Ice Tunnel and start moving into the green-blue kind of snow deck. That is something that those colors do quite often, so if we are sticking to our rare here, taking one of those 2 cards is probably going to get played. That being said, I think they're pretty tied in power level to stuff like just Story Seeker for the aggressive decks, if we want to push towards that strategy. It's only pick 2 here, so I don't want to get too speculative that that green-blue is getting cut just because there's no super solid green-blue cards in this pack. So I'm just going to take between Eyeside Troll or Ice Tunnel. I think I'm going to go ahead and take the Snow Lands first before the Eyeside Trolls. We've seen these going pretty late in a lot of these bot drafts, so it feels like scooping up the lands first, taking the Trolls later seems to be a solid tactic, at least in the quick draft versions of this format. Pack 1, pick 3 here, this is definitely what we're talking about. Now we see some sick uncommons in our colors. We see Marit of the Frost, a 5 mana clone. When Marit enters the battlefield, it copies another permanent you control, but it's a legendary snow version of it with 2 additional +1/+1 counters and the Changeling creature type, which could go for a Changeling tribal deck with Bears of Liara. We also have Elven Bow here, which is the better card at face value. It's a 3 mana 2/3 reach that, once that dies, leaves behind an equipment. Then you can spend 3 mana to move around and give other things +1/+2 and reach. So this is just a great card because you're getting that consistent value throughout the game, making all of your later game creatures more relevant. So when you're top decking cheap creatures like 2 mana 2/2s, they're still relevant later in the game if you've got that nice equipment left behind, and it lets you have equipment in your deck without lowering your creature count. So I do really like Elven Bow, but I think just because we first picked the Bears of Liara, Marit of the Frost is a pretty basic follow-up to that, pretty obvious follow-up to it. So I'm going to go for Marit of the Frost here. I think these are both good. Elven Bow probably more generically good, but with Bears of Liara already, we are pushing down that green-blue path. See if we go for green-blue Changeling Tribal with Marit of the Frost. Phenomenal pick 4 for snow decks. We see a Bergstrider here being that big game-ending kind of 4/4. Taps down your opponent's creatures and keeps them locked down as well. Sculptor of Winter being the ramp to make it to your big plays. Liara Mirror Lake being a land that will work as a spell late in the game. And a snow-covered forest for that snow mana. Really like this pack here. I would not be unhappy to take any of those 4 cards. I think I'm going to go for the Bergstrider here though. I think it's my favorite of all of these. Sculptor of Winter is very close to it, but I don't think I want to take these lands that early over these creatures, because these creatures are good even if you don't have a million snow mana. At least the Bergstriders are for sure. So I'm going to skip up a Bergstrider here. Just a phenomenal creature. Probably the best blue, one of the best blue commons for sure. Not too much going on here. Pick 5, two major options being Snakeskin Veil to give one of our big game-ending creatures hexproof, and Gates of Istfell being a spell land late in the game if we end up in the very splashy, very multicolored snow deck. I think I'm going to go for the Gates of Istfell. I just very much enjoy having a bunch of spell lands, going for a lot of colors when I have a green base to my decks in this format. And that leaves our pick 6 to being able to being a Snakeskin Veil pretty easily, although now we have to consider these red cards being pretty powerful. We have a Frostbite for cheap removal, a Crush the Weak for a potential Wrath effect against aggressive strategies, and a Surtland Frostpire being a land and a Wrath effect against those strategies. Surtland Frostpire highly overperformed in the last snow deck that I got to play it in, so I'm actually probably on Surtland Frostpire here over anything else in this pack. We'll scoop that up. Pack 1, pick 7 is going to be a pretty easy Glacial Floodplain. Help get that Gates of Istfell, the white mana that it needs, to pop off. Pick 8 now, pretty easy Sculptor of Winter, although there is a synergy in this format, a little combo that is pretty cool that I'd like to mention here, which is of course the Giant Ox and Colossal Plow combo. That is actually a legitimately strong thing you can be doing. Colossal Plow is generally not the greatest thing in the world, but if you turn 2 your Colossal Plow onto the board, and then on turn 3 play a Giant Ox and crew it immediately, start attacking with it on turn 3, you're almost always going to win that game, because you're attacking with a 6/3 on turn 3, and you're getting additional mana to immediately get a 4-drop out on turn 3 at the same time, because you've only spent 2 mana that turn on the Giant Ox, so you have an untapped land plus 3 white mana to do whatever you want with. It's a bit of a swingy strategy, but if you can pick up all the Giant Oxes and Colossal Plows, you're gonna have a deck that will just explosively kill people on like turn 4. So fun thing to mention there. One of the cool synergies you can pull off in this format. We could take a Snow-Covered Swamp here, or we could take like a Disdainful Stroke in the mirror match, stop our opponent's big plays. Mist of Liara against the aggressive strategies. Nothing super exciting here. These snow decks do grind out a very long, hard-fought win with a bunch of just big creatures, so we don't really need a big like hasty game ender. We're going to play a lot of 4/4 Bergstriders, 6/6 Lindworms if we can find them. So Doomscar Titan's not really necessary in this strategy here. So I think it's between the Swamp and the Disdainful Stroke for me. I'll scoop up the Snow-Covered Swamp. I'm not too high on counter spells in any format. I'm just not great at knowing when to hold up the mana and all that. Not a lot going on here. Pick 10 again. I guess if we want the big game-ending cards, we could take a big old Cinderheart Giant here. Not a huge fan of the Frostpeak Yeti, because most of your mid-range creatures in this format, in your snow decks, you want them to just be like big blockers, really good at helping you survive those early turns, and Frostpeak Yeti's certainly not that. It can make sure that you're closing out the game even if you end up in a board stall, but it's kind of hard to end up in a board stall in these snow decks unless you're in the mirror match, because your creatures are just always going to be bigger. So I don't know, I'm going to take the Cinderheart Giant here. Not super sure on that one. Easy Sulphur's Mire here. Not Void Recluse is definitely not playable in slow green decks, maybe in some fast aggressive ones, but that low toughness is a killer in these kind of decks. Another Cinderheart Giant. I don't think I'm going to want multiples of that. So we can try a Giant Ox here maybe, I guess. We are not a combat trick deck when we're a multicolored snow deck. Not an equipment deck either. Take a Vault Robber, I guess. Could ramp us up and get us some treasure tokens, potentially. Seize Spoils is similar. Now we've got a more heavy emphasis on the red here. So we have in pack 2, pick 1. So Faceless Haven's a cool card if you can get enough snowlands to consistently activate it. The problem that I have with it is any deck that's going to have enough snowlands to activate it is gonna probably be in a lot of colors, where having one land that taps for colorless mana is gonna be a pretty big pain, so I'm actually not particularly high on the Faceless Haven. Honestly, out of this pack, I'm probably looking towards Shimmerdrift Veil, Icehide Troll, Squash, and Inga Rune Eyes. Those are probably the better cards here. I don't think we have any removal yet, so I might just scoop up a Squash here, honestly. Yeah, I think I will. Squash is just a great deal, even if you're casting it for the full 5. And if you're casting it for only 2 mana, it's an incredible deal. Very good piece of removal in this format. A premium one for sure. Highland Forest is an excellent snow duel, being red and green when we have a pretty high focus on red and green in our deck right now. But there's also the Spirit of the Alder Guard, which is almost impossible to pass up on in these snow decks. 4 mana for a 0/4, but when it comes into play, you search for any snow land from your library, so including snow duels, and it'll get +1/+0 for each snow permanent you control. Spirit of the Elder Guard is just a phenomenal card in these decks, and not going to pass up on it for the Highland Forest, even though that would be a great land. Pack 2, pick 3. 3 pretty great options here. We have the Snow-Covered Island being a great snow land, the Seraph's Packmate being an exceptional deal in any green deck, and the Frostbite being another nice cheap removal spell. I think I'm going to go for Seraph's Packmate here. We don't have too much that needs us to have a million snow sources. Sculptor of Winter, ideally we have one out by the time that we're untapping things with that, but we already have 4 snow sources for that. Berg Shredder, we only need 1 snow source, we already have 4 for that. And Spirit of the Alder Guard, we don't have to be attacking with this as a 5/4 for this card to be good. It can be a good card just as a mana fixer, being able to pull out a snow duel. Even if this is just a 1/4 or a 2/4, it's still going to be a great card. So we actually don't need snow sources that insanely highly. So I'm going to take Seraph's Packmate here. Just a phenomenal deal on that creature. Now we've got another Bergstrider, a Saw It Coming, and a Mistwalker. Mistwalker will synergize with the Bears of Liara, but Bergstrider is just a phenomenal card that I'm super high on, so I'm going to take another Bergstrider. Now, not too much going on here. We could take that Gold Vein pick, but we're not doing too much attacking in the early game to get those treasure tokens. Got an Alpine Meadow here for a red-white duel. Or not much else. I don't like Raven Form at all. Very similar to the reasons that I just do not like Witness Protection in Streets of New Capenna, because you are giving your opponent something back off of your removal spell. And Raven Form is definitely worse than Witness Protection, because you're giving your opponent a 1/1 flyer, which is definitely much more likely to be relevant than a 1/1 on the ground, but very similar problems with those cards. I'm going to take the Alpine Meadow here. Snow-Covered Island looks like a pretty easy choice. There's not too much else going on here. I guess we could have a second copy of Surtland Frostpire. Well, that wouldn't be the end of the world. We've got a lot of tapped lands right now, so I'd kind of like just getting more untapped snow sources. Yeah, I'm going to pass up on the second Frostpire here for an untapped snow source. Now we've got a Disdainful Stroke. Not too much else here. Disdainful Stroke or Liara Mirror Lake. Actually, yeah, Mirror Lake seems pretty cool for us. Yeah, I'll go for Liara Mirror Lake. Another Surtland Frostpire. We can take one now. It's between that and probably a Bind the Monster here. Just Bind the Monster. It's good as a one-of. Don't want to run too many copies of this, because after you've cast the first one, you're going to get to the point where you've just taken too much damage to really cast any more copies of this, but it's fine as a one-of. I think because we're green, red, blue, we probably don't need it. We probably want to just scoop up red removal highly if we can see it. I'll take another Frostpire here. And we do wheel the Inga Rune Eyes, which I'll happily play. 4 mana 3/3 that scries through you when she enters the battlefield, and then if she dies alongside 2 other creatures, you get to draw 3 cards. Just taking another look at everything else in the pack, but I'm pretty sure it's Inga Rune Eyes. Okay. Pick 10, easy Masked Vandal. That will be phenomenal with the Bears of Liara, because it'll be a 2 mana Changeling to get on the board, 2 mana Shapeshifter, so we'll also turn into a 4/4 if we have the Bears of Liara afterwards. Plus, this is just a phenomenal card. Good blocker against the aggressive decks, and a good piece of main deckable artifact enchantment removal against the slower decks like ours. Now, Draugr Thought Thief, I guess, to fill out the curve at 3 mana. Not massively high on Pilfering Hawk. Wouldn't be awful here, though. We do have a million snow sources, so we can definitely loot, but it's going to keep requiring a mana commitment from us to do that. Looks like nothing here for us. As we get to the end of the pack, we could play a Depart the Realm. Little bounce effect here. Wow, we just get triple Surtland Frostpire. Well, we are all set against the aggro decks. Just make it to turn 6 and start cracking Surtland Frostpires. Okay, so what do we have now? Pack 3. We have Shimmerdrift Vale, Snow-Covered Mountain for snow sources. We have Notvold Slumber Mound and Surtland Frostpire for spell lands. We have Squash for another efficient removal spell, and we have Blood on the Snow for a Wrath effect to splash in. And this isn't exactly a one-sided Wrath, but it'll be a Wrath that leaves us with a creature from our graveyard because of the amount of snow mana we have in our deck. We already have 2 dual lands that have black in them and a snow-covered swamp. We have Spirit of the Alderguard for a little bit of mana fixing. We have Sculptor of Winter that could untap a black source, so if we have a single black source and a Sculptor of Winter, we get to this. I think Blood on the Snow seems perfectly splashable in this deck, and that's probably what I'm trying to do. There are a lot of powerful cards we could wheel here, so I assume we'll wheel at least one of them between Squash, Frostpire, Notvold Slumber Mound, Shimmerdrift Vale, or Snow-Covered Mountain. Our absolute number one, though, after taking a double black card, would be Shimmerdrift Vale. We'd really like to wheel that, but I think that's probably the least likely to wheel. Pack 3, pick 2 now. We see a snow-covered forest, which is pretty cool. However, not going to take it over the powerful green mythic rare here, the Battle Mammoth. We can foretell this for 2 mana to cast it for only 4 on a later turn, and then we get a 6/5 trample. Whenever one of our permanents becomes the target of a spell or ability and opponent controls, we get to draw a card. So 5 mana for 6/5 trample, plus when they finally cast removal to kill it, we'll draw a card off it anyway. Really good card. Definitely going into this deck. Now we see a snow-covered island, a Ravenous Lindworm, Snakeskin Veil. That's about it. We're not really an Augury Raven deck, although it would be okay. I think I'm going to go for the Ravenous Lindworm here. It's just such a powerful tool for stabilizing. That huge amount of life gain with a giant body attached to it is quite nice. Pack 3, pick 4, we see another Seraph's Packmate, a Rootless Yew, a Behold the Multiverse. All 3 of those are phenomenal cards that are pretty comparable, but I think I'm going to go for Seraph's Packmate, give us some more to do early in the game. Gives us another 4-drop, or if we don't have a 2 or 3-drop, we get to foretell this to cast it for only 2 mana on a later turn. I really like the Packmate. Rootless Yew is pretty active in this deck, though. We have 2 different 6 toughness or greater creatures, so anytime Rootless Yew dies, we're pretty likely to pick up a Ravenous Lindworm or a Cinderheart Giant. Although I may want to be pushing into cutting that Cinderheart Giant where Rootless Yew will get weaker, because then if we draw Ravenous Lindworm before we draw Rootless Yew, this will do nothing when it dies. So that's my biggest concern about the Rootless Yew. And yeah, I think I want to focus more in on my green than my blue, even though Behold the Multiverse is a great draw spell. Love having a draw attached to a creature so we have something on the board to block and trade with. Nothing too exciting for us, pack 3, pick 5, but we can scoop up another spell land, the Notvold Slumber Mound. Once we hit 7 mana, spend 6 of it, and sacrifice our Slumber Mound to destroy a land and get a 4/4 troll with trample. This is definitely going to be an 18 land deck. We have so many spell lands that we can sacrifice late game when we're getting flooded. Now we have a Frostbite for another cheap removal spell, a Grizzled Outrider for a nice 5 mana 5/5 creature. Looking pretty good on big bodies. We have 2 Bergstriders, Battle Mammoth, Mareed of the Frost, Ravenous Lindworm. Again, probably cutting the Cinderheart Giant, but I don't think I need more just big bodies. Grizzled Outrider is solid in this format, just 5 mana 5/5, but I think we're doing pretty well on that front here. I think I'd rather just take more cheap removal, like the Frostbite here, Don't think I want another Gates of Istfell either, because the only white card I have is going to be the Gates of Istfell, so it's going to be one of our hardest spell lands to cast. So I'm going to go for the Frostbite here, and probably cutting this Giant Ox for sure. Not really going in on the white that much. Nothing playable here for us. I guess Karfil Harbinger, theoretically just a 2-mana 1/3, can help cast our instant sorceries or help pay for foretell cards. Seems like the best bet for us. Undersea Invader's really bad. The fact that this comes into play tapped is such a massive bummer. You'll find that in these slower kind of blue and green decks and stuff like that, you would much rather just have a 6-mana 5/6 with no text. The flash is pretty much irrelevant if the creature enters tapped anyway. The only thing it's good for is like you can hold up the mana for a counter spell, and if you don't need to counter something, you can cast this. But most of the time, you'll find yourself in a position where, because you're the slower deck, you're just getting beaten down and you really need a blocker, and the fact that this does not block the turn you play it is really, really bad. So Undersea Invader, I just treat it as pretty much unplayable. It's been so awful for me in those positions. Yeah, I'm just going to take Harbinger. We don't really want to Snow Plains in here. Now we have a Mistwalker. That's pretty great with the Bears with Yara, and it fills out one of the more empty spots on our curve. We only have 3 drops right now. Get a 4th. We are splashing in some black, so Priest of the Haunted Edge would be castable, but I don't think we're going into black that hard. Card is solid, though. We do have 6 snow lands, so it'll probably be a -2, -2, -3, -3 pretty often. Kind of removal spell. But I'm going to take the Mistwalker here. We do wheel the Snow-Covered Mountain, the Notvold Slumber Mound, and the Surtland Frostpyre here. Well, we've already got triple Surtland Frostpyre, so I guess it's between the Snow-Covered Mountain and the second Notvold Slumber Mound. Take another look at how badly we need snow cards, but I don't think it's that badly. We've got the 6 snow lands already. I guess Frostbite will get a lot better the more snow permanents we have. Sculptor of Winter gets better the more consistently we can activate it. We are grabbing a red source either way. Bergstriders and Blood on the Snows. I guess even if we only have 1 Notvold Slumber Mound, we already have 6 different lands that can be cycled as a spell. We have Yaramir Lake, Slumber Mound, triple Frostpyre, that's 5. Gates of Istfell, that's 6. I'm just going to take an untapped source again. We'll take the Snow-Covered Mountain here. We have a lot of tapped lands right now. So we'll probably stop scooping those up. We might even cut 1 Frostpyre. 3 might be a little bit overkill. Do I take Bind the Monster over Mists of Lityara? I probably do, but this is a painful card to cast, obviously, since you are taking damage equal to the creature's power that you're nullifying. But we might play it, we'll see. We could actually take a Snakeskin Veil here. We have some big stuff to protect. Big old Bergstriders and Mareets and Lindworms and stuff. Might not make the cut, but I'm almost certain Broken Wings won't make the cut when we have main decked just regular removal that can kill flyers and main decked artifact enchantment removal off a Masked Vandal. Broken Wings is main deckable if you really need that kind of removal, but when you have other ways to do it that are just more consistent in the main deck, like Squash and Masked Vandal and stuff, then I would prefer to just keep those in. Probably not playing Run Ashore. And probably not playing Strategic Planning or Run Amok or any of this stuff. We have so many lands in here, we probably don't even need to cut anything. We do. We do need to cut something. We have 41 cards in the deck, so I'm going to need to cut 2 cards because this is 100% an 18 land deck. Maybe even a 19 land deck with the amount of high mana cards in the deck. Because we have a ton of 5 drops, 6 drops, and a 7 drop. We have all of these lands that require like 6 mana on board because we need 5 lands plus Frostpyre. We need 6 lands plus Slumber Mound. I think I'm going to cut Cinderheart Giant. I think we have plenty of late game even without it. With Lindworm, Blood on the Snow, Marie to the Frost, Battle Mammoth, and Double Bergstrider. There are plenty of ways to close out a game. Seize the Spoils might be the next card we want to cut here. Not the greatest draw spell ever. We do have to discard to cast it. We'll consider cutting that. We'll consider cutting Snakeskin Veil or even Depart the Realm here, although just slowing our opponent down in the early game is going to be nice for us. Not super high on Vault Robber or Karfell Harbinger, but just having 2 mana 1/3s to block more aggressive strategies will be alright. So they do serve a purpose there. I think everything else in the deck looks pretty gas, except like a Thought Thief is just like whatever. We're definitely low on removal enough to run this Bind the Monster. So let's cut 2 cards, shall we? Let's cut... I think I'm going to keep the Snakeskin Veil in. We have 16 creatures right now, but these snow decks can definitely run a low creature count. So we can certainly cut a creature if we want to. I think I still want Cinderheart Giant. I still want more just big stuff. And then we maybe cut the Thought Thief, that's kind of just in the middle there. Keep our 2-drops as 2 mana 1/3s to block the early decks. Spend turn 3 foretelling a Seraph's Packmate or a Battle Mammoth, or casting a removal spell like Frostbite, Bind the Monster, or Squash if we have a Changeling out. Spend turn 3 casting Seize the Spoils. Would I rather spend turn 3 casting Seize the Spoils or Draugr Thought Thief? I guess is the big question. We have some really powerful cards to draw towards in this deck. I don't know, Seize the Spoils is such an awkward draw spell. Just Tormenting Voice. I don't know, I'm going to cut the Seize the Spoils actually. We'll leave our 16 creatures in here, so we just got blockers galore. We could even be on the aggressive sometimes with a good draw. Yeah, I mean, if we have the Dream Draw and we go Masked Vandal into Bears of Liara, that's just nuts. That's just unstoppable. I forgot I need to cut one more card because I want to put another land into this deck. So I suppose I actually probably do want to cut this Draugr Thought Thief then. Or one of these 2-drops, they are really just not great. Mainly just running them as 2 mana 1/3s. I'll get rid of the Vault Robber here. Red looks pretty splashy for us. Should more consistently have the blue mana in the early game. I guess we have a million red sources though off our duels and stuff. Okay, so let's see how our colors look now. Okay, I've got 18 lands in here now. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 green cards. We currently have 3 green sources, I think, because none of our duels or snow lands managed to be green. Yeah, so we're definitely gonna have to cut a regular swamp here for sure, to put another forest, and then cut one of these frost pyres for another forest. We're still looking for more ways to get more green mana in here, so we'll definitely have to look at how much we have of each other color, but it looks like we're certainly trying to cut more red if possible. Probably the Alpine Meadow, because white mana is just useless for us. And red mana, we already have double Frostpire, Knotvolt, Slumbermound, Sulphurous Mire, and Snow-Covered Mountain. The only thing that the Alpine Meadow helps hit is the Gates of Istfell. We might just have to cut the Gates of Istfell as well to get that green count up. I could see dropping these 2 to get the forests up to 7. 7 forests, we're starting to get there. I don't feel so bad, but that's still a little less than 1 out of every 5 lands, which is a bit sketchy. A little bit sketchy, but not the end of the world. We can deal with 7 forests if need be. How are we looking on blue sources? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And we have 10 blue cards. And for blue sources, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Tiny bit less blue sources than green sources. It's pretty alright there. And then when we look on red, We have 3 red cards in the deck, but we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 red sources. It scales about how we want it to. 7 green, 5 blue, 4 red. We probably only want 3 red, but I don't think I want to cut another Frostpire, nor do I want to cut another Snow Source. Maybe we do actually, looking at the mana, want to play Vault Robber over Karfell Harbinger to up the red count here because of how the lands are looking. We might even want to go drop Harbinger, drop Thought Thief, play Vault Robber, and that Seize the Spoils we were considering, because we are going to run a high red count, and then we could even maybe play the Alpine Meadow in here. Or no, because we're not playing Gates of Istville anymore, so there's not a reason to. Just be a tapped red source. I guess we already have Glacial Flood playing for a tapped blue source to help Sculptor of Winter, Spirit of the Elderguard, Bergstrider, all that. Frostbite. So if we want another red source, we do put Alpine Meadow back in over just a regular mountain, but I don't know that we do. So now for 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, pretty much equal on blue and red now, just a tiny bit less red. So now I feel actually pretty good on 7 green, 5 blue, 4 red. That sounds pretty much exactly right. 3, 4, 5. Really wish we had some better dual lands picked up though. Unfortunately for us, the ideal dual lands, like the red-green dual and stuff, the really important dual lands, they showed up in packs that just had absurdly powerful cards like Battle Mammoth or Spear of the Elderguard. It was one of those two where I saw a green-red duel, and I was like, yeah, it's not gonna happen. We're gonna take the non-land there. But yeah, this is where having green duels would have been absolutely phenomenal. Having no green duels is super rough, having to run just 7 just green sources. And that don't even get another color. Alright, well, pretty awkward mana here, but we'll deal with it, see what we can do here. We have very powerful cards in this deck that can make up for that once we start hitting the correct sources. Yeah, let's call it a deck, get into the gameplay, see how it does. Okay, so here we are, game 1. Mana looks great here, the 3 colors that we're running the most of. Slow hand, but we're playing a slow deck, so we'll deal with it. See how things go here. Probably our worst matchup and the worst hand for the matchup. An aggressive white strategy with a turn 1 Battlefield Raptor. Might be a quick game here. Yep, white-black aggro in this format is all about casting 2 spells in 1 turn. Luckily for us, we did draw a 3-drop at least. So now we are probably just desperately trying to make it to Surtland Frostpire. Luckily no creature for them on this turn. So we're just going to take 1 a turn for a little bit, and we draw Depart the Realm. Things are actually looking up for us here, even in the matchup against aggro. Probably use Spirit of the Elderguard to pull out a red duel for our Surtland Frostpire to pop off sooner. Sulphurous Mire is probably the choice. Yep, it's between that and Snow-Covered Mountain, so Sulphurous Mire it is. We can't pop the Frostpire next turn, even if we take an untapped source, so we'll take the tapped one and cast Inga this turn, probably. Opponent's not committing any more to the board, so we're not particularly worried about popping the Frostpire immediately anyway. And now we've drawn into a squash as well. First Strike Death Touch makes sure this Mistwalker does not do a dang thing, but I also don't really want to remove that with Depart the Realm or Squash, because we have Frostpire coming up. I do need another blue source for Frostpire as well, so I'm actually into this Ice Tunnel. We need red double blue. We now have red blue. So Ice Tunnel, It's pretty good. And then Serap's Packmate is phenomenal. And Masked Vandal can get rid of the enchantment, but we're just going to blow up the Raptor anyway, so I'm actually don't really care about the Masked Vandal. So we go Ice Tunnel, Serap's Packmate here. Play a Berg Strider next turn and an Ice Tunnel alongside it. Blood Sky Berserker. If they cast 2 spells in 1 turn, that'll get a couple counters. Pretty scary card. We'll probably want to squash that soon enough, but not just yet. It only gets counters on the 2nd spell each turn, so it can only be a 5/5 maximum next turn, which means it'll still be in reach of squash next turn, so I can still spend this turn just dropping a Bergy boy. We only take 1 damage in the sky, but we don't really take any damage on the ground. Yeah, they don't really have attacks on the ground. If we just tap down the flyer, we're not taking any damage this turn. Foretelling a card, setting up for a double spell next turn with the Berserker. Ooh, give the Berserker lifelink and draw a card. So we've got everything we need for the Frost Pyre. That'll kill everything but their Berserker. Our board will be unscathed. Is that worth it? Probably so. Seize the spoils and a Slumber Mound. Actually like Slumber Mound here. Blow up their Great Hall of Starnheim. I'm still going to hold up for a double block on Berserker, and I don't really want a 1-for-1 trade into the Spirit of Bergstrider, but I'd absolutely 1-for-1 trade into Inga, because Inga would draw us 3 cards if that happened. Clarion Spirit, Raven Wings are the plays. Okay, now we'll squash that Bloodsky Berserker while they are tapped out, and drop a Serap's Packmate. Draw a card. Hit Marit of the Frost. That's going to be a great one. We can actually just attack all here pretty freely. God's Hall Guardian. 3/6 Vigilance here. Way down the Packmate. Get that out of here and get a 1/1 flyer. Another Surtland Frostpire is pretty obnoxious. I think I'm just going to blow up their Great Hall of Starnheim so they can't get a 4/4 Flying Vigilance, though. And then they've got a 3/6 here. With the 3/6, they can double block with a 1/1 and a 3/6 to kill our Bergstrider. That's not a wonderful deal for us. So I think we just pass. We could deal 1 damage with Mistwalker if we really want to trade blows there. But Mistwalker's blocker is good against the Raven Wings here. Alright. Draugr Recruiter. That is definitely a thing. Do we Marit our Spirit of the Altar Guard here? Might be the wrong pickup. Feels pretty spicy to me, though. Can't cast Marit and hold up Depart the Realm. Get some attacks in here, I guess. Hold up Depart the Realm, and then see what we want to do post-combat based on that. Interesting. We're gonna Surtland Frostpire and just ruin their day. I think. If we put 4 damage on the God's Hall Guardian, kill the Recruiter here, we kill everything with Frostpire. So that is the plan. Get that on the bottom. Pass the turn. I should have foretold to Depart the Realm. I guess it's fine to not foretell it. We're only saving on 1 mana in the future, and this way they don't know that we have a foretell card. Not that it's a particularly easy one to play around, so yeah, I probably should have foretold it. I don't think there's any real way to play around the Depart the Realm particularly masterfully. Get a Lindworm now. It's going to make our play for the turn really easy, because that was a sick draw. But this game really just showing off the power of those spell lands. Absolutely ridiculous things this game. Our lands being like 3-for-1 trades. Opponent has left to grab a snack. Grab a drink. And now I made myself hungry. I'm very good at that. Alright, that will do it for game 1 for us. Really bad time for the aggro deck from our opponent. We got to draw both of our lands that managed to wipe their whole board twice, so definitely a frustrating experience for them, but 1-0 for us as we head into round 2. Okay, opponent's on the play here. We've got a pretty sweet hand. We've got a 2-drop, we've got a 3-drop. Our 3-drop's just a draw spell, which isn't going to affect the board at all, but it's still there. It's ready to help us out. Still curving. Oh, we've got our late game plays. Good lord. Bergstrider, Cinderheart Giant. What are we, Blue-Red Giants? Eyeside Troll from our opponent with 2 snow sources already out. Seems good. Seize the spoils, discard this island because we've got a snow-covered one, which is just better. Squash and Seraph's Packmate. Pretty nice. I could untap this and foretell Packmate, but that would require sacking my treasure. Kind of like to keep that to get Cinderheart Giant out in another turn early. Just start dropping Bergstriders next turn. And then we have Squash for only 2 mana once we have a Bergstrider on board. Ooh, no attacks. Don't know exactly why, but I'm very cool with it. Oh, don't be doing that, Arena. Do not sack this treasure. I forgot you have to manually do the effects like that. Arena's made me lazy. Alright. Opponent is stuck on 3 mana there. See if they draw 4th this turn. They were on the play, but we've got more lands out than them so far. Masked Vandal it is. No creatures engraved to exile this treasure token. 5 mana on board, which means 6 with Sculptor of Winter, which means 7 with the treasure token. Yeah. Sorry, Bergstrider, but it's Cinderheart Giant time. Are they going to block and snowshoot it? Get a nice 2-for-1 here? Or just a chump block, potentially. I could have been really rude and used my Slumber Mound to blow up one of their lands. That actually might have led to a more likely chance of winning here. But it is disgustingly rude. I might have to do that next turn. Actually, I can't, because I need 6 mana in addition to the Slumber Mound, so I would have had to sack the treasure to do that. I probably should have just done that. I should have just blown up their green source, because they're a snow deck, so green's probably their most important color. But if I blew up one of their snow lands, they couldn't use Eyeside Troll anymore. Dang, wow, yeah, binding the old gods here. Cinderheart Giant's still going to blow up the Eyeside Troll, but I think I should have just blown up their forest. And just been the actual worst. So let's play Packmate here. I think rather than holding up Squash, I'm just going to get as aggressive as possible. Try to kill them while they're stumbling on mana. Yeah, at this point, once they hit Bind the Old Gods, which tutors another land from them, the whole land destruction dream is not it's not going to be a successful one. All right, Bergstrider time, and keep slamming in. They're down to 5. All right, and that's going to be game. The early game mana struggles were too much for opponent, and that will rank us up into Diamond. Game 3 now. We've got the green source, the red source, and the blue source, our most important sources, but we have got Blood in the Snow in hand, which could be a bit awkward. But we can just save that for very late game. Probably planning on foretelling this Packmate. Don't think... Oh no. Since I don't think there's much that could make me want to play Masked Vandal turn 2, the Bears of Liara would be one way to do that. They've made me want to cast Masked Vandal. Withercrown the Masked Vandal. Base power 0. If I change the base power after the Withercrown, I think it will be 4 power. I mean, I guess we'll figure it out here. We'll see what happens on the second part of this saga. If it just turns into a 0-4, I guess I'll sack it. But we'll find out. I think because the Bears of Liara is changing the base power and toughness after the Withercrown has, then the Bears of Liara will override the Withercrown. And we'll just like reverse 2-for-1 them out of nowhere. By just negating the Withercrown while also making my other one bigger. Okay. If this works to where it's going to make them 4-4s, this is going to be horrible for my opponent. This is going to be a really sad time. It is going to override the Withercrowns. That's disgusting. That's so disgusting. Oh no. Well, unless our opponent has like a Blood on the Snow style Wrath of their own, this is looking pretty over. We've even drawn 2 Seraph's Packmate. This is ridiculous. Yeah, there's the concession from our opponent. 3-0 now. Oh no. Here we are in round 4 on the play. Pretty good mana here, green, red, and blue. Yeah, we'll go for it. Not a ton of action in this hand. We've got a Marita the Frost with nothing big to copy, which is a bit awkward, but definitely got the cards to survive the early game. Some 1/3 blockers, Depart the Realm to bounce their best play, slow them down, and just survive till we draw some action of our own. Probably playing the Vault Robber turn 2 here. Fearless Pup turn 1, so I am happy to have all of our 2-mana 1/3s in this hand. They'll play pretty well against the Fearless Pup. They'll have to have the Boast mana up to attack with it, which is 3 mana. So even if they get to the Boast mana, they'll have to skip a turn to Boast to eat one of our creatures if we block it. Foretold a card here. Could be a Demon Bolt, could be a Glimpse the Future. Just gonna play our Slumber Mound here, and I'm actually in this matchup probably gonna play Masked Vandal so that I have my early game blockers and I can double block Fearless Pup even if they have the Boast mana. They can boast it to trade into one of our creatures. If they have 2 combat tricks, they can get us here. If they can Demon Bolt and somehow off of their blue mana make this bigger, they can do it. But I am super happy with the 1-for-1 trade off the boast and force them to spend all their mana on that so that they're not putting any more creatures out that turn. That worked really well for us. So really happy with how the Masked Vandal play turned out. We do need 1 land for Bergstrider. Probably prefer it be the second black source for Blood on the Snow, or the second green for Ravenous Lindworm. We've got 6 more green sources in this deck though, so, and not very many more black sources, so I'll grab that second black source in case we get Blood on the Snow. We have like 6 more green sources in this deck and only 1 Lindworm in the deck, so we're very likely to hit a green source before we hit a Lindworm. I suppose I wasn't taking into account that the Slumber Mound also needs double green. Now that we've drawn into a Bergstrider, Marie to the Frost is gonna be gas. It's just gonna be a 6/6 Bergstrider, which is pretty nuts. Unless they Demon Bolt our Bergstrider, then we'll be pretty sad. Super possible, super likely even. They're only holding up 1 red mana here. So, if they're holding up red mana, not blue mana, the Foretold card, if it's a 1 mana Foretold card, is probably Demon Bolt for a single red, rather than Glimpse for a blue and 1 or something like that. I really want to draft Kaldheim in paper. I've been going to my local game store more lately because they finally reopened events this year, and we've been drafting some Kamigawa, some Capenna, but I never got to draft like Kaldheim and stuff in paper with other players. Almost 100% certain Bergstrider just gets shot down here. Go for the Inger Rune Eyes attack. I'll take the 1-for-1 trade, see if I can beta a Demon Bolt out though. Probably shouldn't have played my land yet, because that makes it so they're even more likely to just hold on to the bolt. Yeah, with how long that block took, I feel like it's pretty much 100% chance of Demon Bolt here. How do we play around Demon Bolt? We just can't with this hand. All I can do is play Bergstrider and just let it die. So we just Foretell Depart the Realm then, I guess? Here in their end step, they've got a 1 red mana spell up. Why did the auto tapper tap the blue? Maybe it's not a Demon Bolt. Because I have a double blue card in hand, a blue card in hand, a blue card in Foretold, and my Foretell auto tapper tapped my blue source, so maybe theirs just did the same. Okay, there's a Behold the Multiverse from our opponent. They did just Foretell a card right now, though. So I guess it was Behold the Multiverse, and they have Frostbite in hand for 1 red. But now they've got another Foretold card, so they might just have Demon Bolt now. Yeah, playing around the Demon Bolt has worked really poorly for us, because it looks like they did not have it. Probably was Frostbite. But they might have it now, because you can't Foretell and cast a card from exile in the same turn. You have to Foretell it and then play it on a later turn, which means Behold was their previously Foretold card. So their 1 mana card was probably Frostbite and not Demon Bolt. But now, it very well could be Demon Bolt, and by not having played Bergstrider sooner, we're not going to be able to get a Marit going on, because Bergstrider's just going to die in our end step. This time, potentially. Let's see. No. Okay, still no Demon Bolt then. If it was Demon Bolt, that was 100% gonna be the opportunity to do it while we're tapped out there. I don't see why they wouldn't, because we only have one card in hand after Bergstrider. I don't think you would hold Demon Bolt and assume we have a better 4 toughness creature coming. Yep, so Dwarven Reinforcements it is. Pretty nice. So now we get to do Marita the Frost. Oh no, we don't have double blue. We need another blue. But we can do Notvold Slumber Mound here, which is pretty fun. Get a 4/4. Pop one of their snowlands. Pretty down for that jam. Pass turn. Don't really want to trade a Bergstrider for a Craven Hulk. They can double block with a 4/4 and a 2/1. Even though the Craven Hulk can't block alone, it can block alongside a 2/1, and then we can only put 4 damage where we want amongst those two, so we only kill one of the two. Once I have Depart the Realm up, though, we'll have some pretty good attacks. Do need to be worried about blocking as well, but not that badly. As soon as we hit another blue source, we have Marita the Frost being active, and we have Surtland Frostpire being active, so another blue source is actually really good here. Probably should have thought of that earlier with the Inga Rune Eyes. So they're going to send in a Craven Hulk. Again, don't think I'm trading 1-for-1 with my Bergstrider there. I would trade my Bergstrider 1-for-1 for their Bergstrider, though. Do I have to hold for blocks here? Probably do. If they try to double block Bergstrider with 2/2/1s, I can get them pretty bad with this Depart the Realm, but if they don't, if they just take 4, then I'm just going to get hit for 8 that I can't do much about. I guess I could bounce the Craven Hulk. Yeah, no. I think I just pass here. Let me see what I scried to the bottom. Yeah, I did scry a blue source to the bottom. That's a huge punt. With the double blue required on Marite. Don't think we had the Frostpires at that time, but we definitely had Marite when I was choosing my scries. It was a tapped blue source though, so it was a bit of a hard sell because we needed an untapped land the next turn, but I probably should have put Snow-Covered Swamp and then the tapped blue source after that. Frost Peak Yeti is actually really dangerous for us here because we're down to 12. Excuse me. It's kind of the only problem here. It's only 1 mana to Depart the Realm, so we'll save it for later. And Bergstrider's a great draw. Yeah, everything else we can deal with just blocking. But Frost Peak Yeti, that's a no. We're going to have to outrace this Frost Peak Yeti, and it kills us in 4 turns. I think we attack here. If they double block, we're going to kill both their 2/1s and do 2 damage to them. Not the worst deal ever. We have no guarantee we're going to be using these Frostpires, even though the Frostpire would kill their 2/1s. We just have no guarantee we're hitting another blue mana. Send in that Craven Hulk. And we are getting desperate here. Our Marite is no longer active. So another blue source at this point doesn't matter. Another green source it is. That also doesn't matter. All we can do is hold up our Depart the Realm. I'm going to block the Fearless Pup, force them to dump mana into Boast, and then bounce Frost Peak Yeti, so they can't afford to recast Frost Peak Yeti this turn. This actually saves us a lot of damage. We are losing our Masked Vandal here, so if we don't get a blue source or a creature, then I guess we're not really saving damage, because they can just boast Fearless Pup next turn. But if we get a blue source, this will be really good. Packmate works too, that's pretty solid. Untapped blue source would be Marita the Frost on Packmate, and then we're really back in this game. Not an untapped blue source, but Snakeskin Veil's even pretty alright here. Makes the Packmate beat the Fearless Pup, so we can block, force them to spend the Boast mana. They spend the Boast mana, and then we make it a 4/4, so it doesn't even win through the Boast. They do have the mana to pop a Frostpire post-combat after Boast, I think. Actually, no, because they'd have to spend a red here for the Boast. They can't Frostpire post combat, so they have to just have like a burn spell right now. Which of course they do. And have exactly enough for the Frostpeak Yeti afterward. Ooh, Blood on the Snow is good. Only gets a 2-drop back, but still something. Probably pick up our Vault Robber over our Masked Vandal, so that we can start getting treasure tokens so we can actually use Marit and the Frostpires. Yeah. It's a pretty good draw. It's a pretty phenomenal draw, actually. Probably our best draw there. Bergstrider taps down Vault Robber. That's really annoying, because we need that treasure token badly. And Dwarven Reinforcements was the foretold card. There's the white source, or the blue source, but it comes in tapped. So we just take 8 here. Ow. We died a 1 removal spell now. We can Frostpire to kill the 2/1s, but we die to a single removal spell. Now we have Spirit of the Elderguard. Are we going to have the mana for that after a Frostpire? No. Unless we have another untapped Snow Source in the deck, and we can play it pre-Frostpire, which we do. We have a Snow-Covered Island and Snow-Covered Mountain. Okay, so we play this first. Snow-Covered Island. Play that, then Frostpire. Get a Lindworm on top. Lindworm into Marita the Frost is huge. We no longer die to 1 removal spell, we die to 2. If they have 1 removal spell, it's still pretty great for them, because they shoot our Spirit of the Elderguard and all we can do is chump block. Whoo. There's a stress in my bones. 3 cards in hand from our opponent. Demon Bolt on Spirit of the Elderguard would be pretty disgusting. Any bounce on it even would be pretty good. I'm assuming they don't have double removal spell here, or they would probably have done it in just 1. Assault Ravager can do 2 damage to our face, and it will put us to 2 life here. So happy to have Ravenous Lindworm on top, 100% trading into that Bergstrider. land for turn, and here's Ravenous Lindworm. Attempt some stabilizing here. Back up to 6 life, and we have the biggest creature on board. Attack with the Ravager. I'll take a 2-for-1 trade into this Lindworm if you want to trade Ravager and Frostpire into it. I'm super okay with that. I can't sit here and take 4. Yep, that is the trade. Not bad at all. Does make our Marita the Frost worse, though. It's the biggest problem. But we don't have much of another option there. I guess we could have chumped with Vault Robber and then waited on any Lindworm blocks until we already cast Marit. And their scries are both to top. That's pretty threatening. Yeah, I guess on board the trade looked pretty good. The problem is this Marita the Frost still. I probably should have just gone for a chump there. There's no way we take that, because then we die to another Basalt Ravager. But yeah, I think I should have just taken the chump, actually. Oh god. There's Craven Hulk now. There's a Packmate, that's beautiful. Draw a card. Bind the Monster super bad this late in the game. Why I'm not a super huge fan of the card. Make another Packmate, a 5/5, and draw a card off of it. Draw 2 cards. 2 cards total, but just 1 from each Packmate. Cinderheart Giant's a huge draw as well. Draugr Thought Thief from our opponent. They are going to scry 1, surveil 1 here. Look at the top card. If it's good, keep it. If not, throw it in the grave. And they kept it. So, more non-land draws from our opponent, for sure. Mistwalker's the draw here. That's pretty beautiful. It's 6 life here. We can't really afford to attack in. We could start attacking with Mistwalker if they didn't draw a flyer this turn. They drew a Bergstrider. That is a great draw. I would have kept that on top as well. We're going to tap down the Cinderheart Giant. Okay, I guess we get to get in with Mistwalker here. And blow up the Draugr Thought Thief for our Surtland Frostpire. Yeah. I can only buff Mistwalker once, or I'll kill it with Frostpire if I choose to do that. Actually don't block that well. Doesn't have a 4/4, 4/4, and a 2/4. I kind of think I have to hold Mistwalker back until Cinderheart Giant is actually untapped. Otherwise, things just get too sketchy if they have removal. Where they kill the Packmate, and then none of my blocks are profitable if Mistwalker's tapped. None of my blocks are profitable, and I take 2. Okay, so now Cinderheart Giant's untapping. So we're pretty good to start getting it in the sky. Ooh, Bears of Liara make our Mistwalker a 4/4 as well, and get another creature down this turn. Seems pretty good. Use some treasures on that to get the max damage out this turn. Oh, we don't even need a treasure. We've got a lot of blue sources now. There's the concession from our opponent. They know the Bears of Liara is going to make All our changelings 4/4s next turn. We get to attack in the sky for 7. They're on a 2-turn clock. Our board state's larger, so they can't attack in well. And that's a full stabilize from the Blood on the Snow at the opportune time. Very lucky draw there earlier in the game. 4-0 it'll be as we head into round 5. Alright, here we are on the play in round 5. Definitely need to hit a blue source here and need to hit action, but at least we have Frostbite and 3 sources of our main color. It's probably stupid, but I'm just going to keep this. I'm just going to be a little lazy about it. I believe we can just foretell this Depart the Realm turn 2, so we're actually doing at least something here. Immersturm Raiders, the first play from our opponent. They are on Rakdos, so probably pretty aggressive. We've got a turn 4 Spirit of the Alderguard now, an absolutely excellent draw for us, because that can grab our blue source. For the Bergstrider on turn 4, we'll just grab a snow-covered island. So we play it as the untapped land. I'm going to go ahead and use Frostbite just to prevent some damage here, if they don't have a trick. I actually probably should have done that before letting them untap in case they had Run Amok, because Run Amok is a powerful and popular card in the aggressive strategies in this format. +3/+3 trample. Infernal Pet is the play here. That's a 2/2 that gets a +1/+1 counter and flying every time they cast their second spell for the turn. Luckily though, we're going to have a lot of work in here towards stabilizing. We're going to have a Bergstrider to tap that down. And we've got to Depart the Realm lying in wait to bounce it back to hand, get rid of all the counters on it. Wither Crown's the play here. That's just going to make me lose a life each turn, because Spirit of the Alderguard already has base power 0. It just gets +1 for all my snow cards. So I'm going to take... taking the damage is a bit rough, but I think I'm still going to do it for now. They double spell us here. We're going to take a pretty big hit from Bloodsky Berserker. We could actually Depart the Realm our own Spirit of the Alderguard to get rid of this Wither Crown so we stop taking damage, and we can pull out another snow source from our deck. So that could be our play next turn, because next turn we'll only have 6 mana total, so we won't have enough for Cinderheart Giant yet. But we could... another Wither Crown, that's going to be much worse for us. We could pick up the Spirit of the Alderguard, Wither Crown's gone, play it to pick up our snow-covered mountain so that we can cast Cinderheart Giant next turn. It's actually kind of spicy. Now that there's a Wither Crown on Bergstrider, though, I might want to bounce Bergstrider, because that I will actually turn into a 4/4 again. So it's like straight just drawing a card when I play it. Oh, okay, they're just going to fully kill it here. So then... Depart the Realm on Spirit of the Alderguard it is. Do I want to hit them for 2? Or would I rather not take 1? I guess the problem with the Depart the Realm on Spirit of the Alderguard is both their creatures have counters on them, and we can remove all the counters by using Depart the Realm. So I might actually just want to not do that, and we hit the next red source for Cinderheart Giant. So we know we're playing Cinderheart Giant next turn anyway. Do we play Mistwalker, or do we hold on to Depart the Realm in case they double spell us here? They're down to 2 cards in hand. What are the odds they're both cheap enough to cast 2 spells this turn, and that they're both spells and not lands? I guess they didn't play a land that turn, so they're definitely both spells. Yeah, the mana in this deck is not perfect, because we get into situations like this where we need double blue bad and double red for Cinderheart Giant. I think I cast Mistwalker and then I just don't attack. That way, even if they double spell, I could double block Berserker if I want. I just can't block Infernal Pet because it'll be a 5/5 flyer. Berserker would only kill one of my 2 creatures if they double spell here. We're just going to send in a 4/4. I think I take 4 down to 11. They have foretold a card and cast a Death Knell Berserker. Seraph's Packmate is the draw. So if I still really want to depart the realm, which I kind of do, I can't cast Cinderheart Giant here. Cinderheart Giant isn't necessary for blocking things on the ground. We're already good at blocking everything on the ground. We just need to be able to deal with Infernal Pet. So let's cast the Packmate. Vault Robber is play number 1. Definitely double spelling here, I assume. No, straight to combat. They're going to double spell with a Run Amok at instant speed. What happens if they Run Amok the Berserker? One, two, three, four, 5 from the counters. 6, 7, 8 from Run Amok. We're going to have to bounce the Berserker here. That's rough. Yeah, we're going to have to bounce Berserker. We don't even get to bounce the Flyer like we wanted to. Which means we're just going to take 5 in the sky from this Infernal Pet. I could chump block the Infernal Pet. Oh, I guess it's not in the sky right now, actually. This plays better against Run Amok, I think. Because if they don't Run Amok Infernal Pet, we like really get them. And if they do Run Amok Infernal Pet's the card we wanted to bounce anyway. Oh, it's Jarl of the Forsaken? That actually doesn't do anything right now. I guess it gets the counters that they want. But yeah, we still have enough power to kill Infernal Pet here, and then we bounce Bloodsky Berserker. Yeah, that actually... Oh, that goes so well. Okay, so we're still keeping around the Spirit of the Alderguard, I think. Our Frostpire, we need another blue source, unfortunately, so that's not happening yet, but that'll be huge once we get it. For now, we're playing Cinderheart Giant. Now we've got all these blockers on the ground. For all their creatures on the ground. I'm so happy that wasn't Run Amok. That would have been pretty disgusting. But looks like playing around the Run Amok ended up playing around the Jarl of the Forsaken pretty well too. So Bloodsky Berserkers to play, they're just rolling it out. Are they going to cast another spell, make it big enough to survive our Frostpire, or is a top-decked island active here? I think a top-decked island is active. Come on, top deck. Swithercrown is putting in work. Alright, well that's really bad. Top deck. Force number 6 of 7. Less than halfway through the deck. Yeah, things are looking rough. Yeah, we're just kind of chilling, dying to Wither Crown until we hit another blue source. If we had another blue source here, Frostpire would just be the absolute nuts. Kill everything but their Vault Robber. So we're at 8 life. That's another menace creature. Oh god. I was gonna say, I think we sack Spirit. The problem is, Spirit of the Alderguard is stopping essentially more than 1 damage by not dying. Because it's opening us to double blocks and nice blocks against the 3-2 and stuff. Whereas if it weren't here and we just only had 2 blockers, they could be swinging in pretty dang well, especially with Menace. I think we're actually just saving more life by paying 1 a turn than if we sacrificed this thing like a long time ago. But Yaramir Lake's the next blue source. If we can survive another turn, we've got a shot. Don't know if we can, though, now, because we're at 7 against multiple menace creatures if they can double spell with Bloodsky Berserker. They've only drawn 5 lands all game, though, so unless they have a real low count, I doubt they can double spell here. Yeah, unless they have, like, 12 lands in their whole deck, they're pretty due for their 6th mana. Okay, so they are just going to pass turn. If they can double spell during our turn, they can ruin our Frostpire, but I think that's about the only way that they don't let their whole board get wrathed. I'm going to sack the Spirit now. I'm all in on this Frostpire. These to the bottom. Slumber Mound is a very slow 4/4. It'd be better to have it on bottom. Okay. Alright. Legitimate kind of a shot here, I think. Foretold card could be the big haste giant, but we survived that. It's 4/4, and it gives the whole field +1/+0 haste. So I guess unless they get another like big card alongside it, but it costs 5 mana to cast it, even Foretold. So even if the Foretold card's the big haste giant, we'll survive. We just chump it and take 2. It wouldn't be good for us, but we wouldn't die. Bloodsky Berserker off the top. Second spell to play alongside it? No. Ooh, Squash is the draw. Beautiful draw. We get a treasure token out of Seize the Spoils, so we can afford to spend our red mana on the Seize the Spoils and still hold up Squash. We've drawn a Bergstrider and an Ice Tunnel. That's pretty gas. And we can hold up Squash after a Bergstrider, so we'll cast it here. Because we've got a treasure token and a land. That's the 2 mana needed for Squash. So we cast Bergstrider. Tap down Vault Robber, I guess. Bloodsky Berserker would be the safer one, but we can squash that. And tapping down Vault Robber makes it so they can't stop very much of this trample damage, so they're definitely dead in 2 hits. They're definitely dead in 2 hits even if we don't attack with Mistwalkers, so play it safe here. Attack with the 7/6 trample. Hold up the Squash. Squash at the ready. I think we got this unlocked. They have 7 mana though. If they have Tybalt, that would be bad, but I think we even beat Tybalt. Alright, there's the concession from our opponent. So Tybalt's a big planeswalker. They could play it and exile our best card, exile the Cinderheart Giant, but then if they do that, we still just attack them with Mistwalker and pump it twice for lethal. So yeah. Alright. Oh, and we could squish Tybalt. That's hilarious. I didn't know squash. You could squash a planeswalker. Alright, well, there we are. I think we're 4-0 now, something like that. 5-0 with this deck. We've got some poor mana, for sure. Our mana base is not great, and we're getting punished for it. That is the biggest flaw of the deck, and it is a flaw in how we drafted here. We didn't get any of those green-red duels or anything like that. So, you know, as I was saying in that game, we had like 7 green sources in the deck. The fact that none of them are duels is pretty brutal for us. So drawing like 6 out of 7 in that other game, stuff like that. We are getting punished for our poor mana base. A lot of situations where we need double blue or double red, and it takes a while to get there, but even then, we have just so many powerful cards in this deck, and so much synergy and stuff. It's been popping off. It has been popping off, and we'll see if it still can as we head into round 6. Round 6, here we go. 2 of the best commons in the format. Double Seraph's Packmate. Definite keeper here, even though we don't have any red sources for our double red card. Packmates can hopefully start drawing us toward that. We'll Glacial Floodplain into Forest, into Foretell on turn 3. It's probably the lineup. Yep, we've got our double black card as well. We've definitely got some mana we need to hit late game here. So we can play a Packmate on 3 and then just hard cast a Packmate on 4. Should be a pretty solid start to the game. Opponent's turn 2 here, they're on green, white. And Starnheim Courser's their first play of the game, 2/2 flyer here. Ooh, now I gotta be a little interested in Spirit of the Alder Guard on 4. I'm gonna Packmate before I play my land in case I hit a tapped land. So we can play that for turn. We did not hit a tapped land, we'll just play our Forest here. Yeah, Spirit of the Alder Guard for our red-black dual land is actually really good here, because then we're only one red source away from Cinderheart Giant, one black source away from Blood on the Snow. Fall of the Imposter is a very good card. That's going to get 2 +1/+1 counters onto their board, and then it will exile our biggest creature. So I don't want to commit too much to this board, because they're going to kill our best creature, plus we have a potential Blood on the Snow coming up. Kind of want to just drop a Spirit of the Alder Guard and try to get towards the Wrath effect, and even if we don't get the Wrath effect, Spirit of the Alder Guard does get us the red source to cast Squash at the minimum. I think that's the plan I'm on here. Unfortunately, we are going to take 4 from Starnheim Courser, so we're going to die pretty fast to that, so we do really need the red source for Squash. I might even have to get an untapped land rather than getting the red-black duel just to kill this Starnheim Courser. That's actually rough. That's going to be like the choice of the game here. Do we get the untapped source so that we definitely just squash Courser next turn? Or do we get the tapped one to lend itself well to a good Blood on the Snow? We have enough creatures in our hand to compete if we can just get rid of the flyers, so I think we're taking the untapped land here, and we're trying to compete the traditional way for now, and we'll just save Blood on the Snow for very late game as our kind of win condition. For now, we just do everything we can to leverage our creatures as blockers and survive as long as possible. That being said, we don't need ground blockers right now, so we'll send in the Packmate. Its final opportunity to attack before it gets exiled by a Fall of the Imposter. I guess there's still one more turn before it gets exiled. Oh. Well. 1-for-1 trade into the removal spell. But that means Fall of the Imposter now gets to exile a different one of our creatures. So we'll exile our Spirit of the Alder Guard. Luckily for us, our opponent's just playing 1/2s outside of Starnheim Courser here. I would really prefer to try to squash Starnheim Courser when they're tapped out here, so they can't they can't just use Snakeskin Veil of their own. Are we going to cast... Maybe we cast Serulf's Packmate here and go for a Frostbite on Starnheim Courser. No, we don't. It has 4 toughness. What am I on about? We have to squash it. So since we have to squash it, we probably play Mistwalker here. And then we can squash for 2. And I think I would rather squash before they untap. I don't know here. If they have a Snakeskin Veil, there's no way they're not always holding up a green because of their multiple Jaspera Sentinels. So if they have Snakeskin Veil, it's going to get us at literally any time. So let's just try to squash Courser. Okay, no Snakeskin Veil. Pass the turn. Now they exile the Spirit. And we've got a Mistwalker. Use a combat trick to kill Mistwalker. They just want to hit me for 1 here. But I'll take a 1-for-1 trade for a combat trick again. They just want to hit me for 1, it looks like. And they pass the turn. Okay. I don't feel the need to Berg Shredder down a 1-2, so I'm probably on Packmate, hold up a Frostbite. Packmate first in case I hit a tapped land, so I can play that instead of my forest. Did not hit a tapped land. Would I rather foretell Depart the Realm or hold up Frostbite? I'm just going to play it as safe as possible and just hold up Frostbite. Again, our hand very much wins the long game. Just do everything that we can to be defensive for now. Battlefield Raptor is the play. We can deal with that with Mistwalker. It looks like we're just good on board. Like, we're just solidly blocking everything they're doing still. So no even need to Frostbite or anything. There's the second red source for Cinderheart Giant. Pretty huge. We can Bergstrider and still hold up Frostbite. So I shall. And now that we have a 4/4 down, plus we're holding up Frostbite, we can get in with that Packmate. Can't get in with Mistwalker though, the Sentinels have reach, so. Mistwalker's not really doing much damage there. Bound in Gold, going to shut off our Bergstrider. Cannot attack, block, or crew vehicles. And can't use its abilities, it's just a better version of Arrest. It's pretty nice. Hit us for 1 again with these Sentinels. Get every bit of damage in that they can. Go to our turn. Snow-covered island. I cannot cast Cinderheart Giant while still holding up Frostbite, but I think that's okay. I mean, we're at 11 facing 3 1-power creatures. One of which I can block. Actually, 2 of which I can block. I blocked the Flyer and one of the Sentinels. These past couple games have really shown off the different kind of decks here, because the Rakdos aggro and then kind of the Selesnya aggro here, to where we're in a position where our opponent has 5 lands, we've got like 8, but we're both happy with our land count. I'm like, yeah, 8 lands, let's go. They're like, 5 lands? That's more than enough. Masked Vandal and a Code Spell Cleric. Nothing super worrisome, bunch of really small creatures again. Plenty of good blockers for all that. We're not really jamming in that much anymore. That's the only thing I dislike here. I guess we're jamming with Cinderheart Giant since I drew another Bergstrider. Just tap down the biggest toughness. Get the most Cinderheart Giant damage out. Try to kill him in just a few swings from that. I don't think our opponent has seen our trample from Cinderheart Giant yet. Not really going to be able to chump block it well. So we still get to hit for 6 with trample. Foretell Depart the Realm, holding up a Frostbite. Pass the turn. Keep doing our Cinderheart Giant things. Should be a way to close out a game. Yeah, and our opponent's going to scoop them up. No more removal against massive creatures like Cinderheart Giant. We're now 6-0 as we head into round 7. What could be the final round could be a 7-0 no-loss run with this snow deck. Here we are in round 7 against Draft themselves. We need a green source very badly here, and we have 7 in the deck. I think I have to just mulligan this. This hand would be so beautiful if this island were a forest instead. This hand would be absolutely phenomenal. I guess our opponent's on the play, so we could risk it for the biscuit here, but I don't think it's worth it. 7 green sources out of 33 cards. No, that's way too risky. I'm gonna mulligan. Oh no, this is worse. I guess if we hit any land in our 18 land deck, we're getting there because we got Packmate, definitely. I really don't want to mold a 5, and we're on the draw here with out of these 33 cards, 17 of these are lands. That's actually a tiny bit more than half, and we're drawing on turn 1. And we can put our most expensive cards on bottom, like Cinderheart Giant. I'm not mulling to 5. I'm keeping this 6, as risque as it is. Now I kind of wish I just kept the first hand and just hope there was a forest in like the top 3. Unfortunately, our opponent's on an aggressive deck, which could very much punish us for this keep. Yep. I feel like draft here is going to show us the cream of the crop Boros aggro. Oh yeah, Fearless Pup and Dragonkin Berserker. Yep, this was a predestined loss. We could have mulled to 5, but our deck cannot beat an aggressive deck like this on a mull to 5 anyway. Yeah, this is the stuff. The Tormentor's Helm 2, nice cheap equipment. Yep, Arena decided the loss for us. No 7-0 run for us. Sad day. The Valkyrie as well. Excellent deck from our opponent. We can't block anything profitably because it's all first strike or flying. They've got the cheap removal too. Yeah, we were never winning this matchup. We might not even win this matchup on a 7-lander. Or, I'm sorry, a 7-card hand. That is the best aggressive curve we've seen so far. I feel like the bots kind of overdraft aggro, unfortunately, in this quick draft format, because remember near the end of Premier Draft, like, it's not just that everybody's always playing 5-color snow, but it really feels like in the draft pods I've ended up, that was just always what I should have been doing with the cards I was getting passed and opening. Like, I don't think I ever saw like a million great aggressive cards to make one of those good aggro decks. And it's not that hard to get a lot of good cards for those decks, so it just feels like the bots really prioritize the aggro stuff. Because most of the aggro decks we've seen from our opponents have had to put a decent amount of filler, just haven't had the greatest curves ever and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I would probably just end up with a very similar deck if I tried to push into aggro with how these bots are drafting. So, I don't know. It feels like the way that the quick drafts bots work is they try to like program them based on how people draft the format. Like actual people draft the format. And the problem is that formats are self-correcting when it's like players drafting, so the way that people draft changes all the time. And it feels like near the very, very end of Kaldheim is when aggro started to be probably the best deck to draft, because so many people were trying to do the snow stuff that you couldn't really do it every time. And it doesn't feel like the bots ever caught up to that. It feels like the snow decks are still just more open than the aggro stuff. I don't know. Anyways, on to round 8, which could also be the final round, but we do have one more chance after this, even if this one is a loss. And this is a beautiful hand. Excellent mana in it. Not actually playing anything till turn 4, which is a bit rough. So if we're against another, like a Boros aggro deck here, this is probably another just definite loss. But against other strategies, we've seen how well this deck can come back and stabilize. And we'll see how it does here. Just playing Draugr's Helm as the equipment. Equips for 4 mana. Not super worried about that. Our opponent looks like they're stuck on 2 mana here, I think. So that's pretty good for us. Let's get our green source down. Get our Inga Rune Eyes on turn 4. Yeah, it looks like they're stumbling on mana in their early game here, so they're not going to get to curve out as aggressively as they would hope. Just giving us some more chances to stabilize. Really unfortunate for our opponent here. They're still stuck on 2 mana and they don't have any 2-drops in the hand. So I am feeling very confident in our chances here. They're just getting pretty unlucky. Drawing Blood on the Snow before I draw Spirit of the Elder Guard, so I don't accidentally cast Spirit of the Elder Guard before Blood on the Snow and shuffle it into my library, because the fact that I already have the double black for it with Ice Tunnel and Snow-Covered Swamp means that Blood on the Snow is definitely my strongest draw, so I have that available in the future. I even have 5 snow sources. We have 2 on board and 3 in hand, so whenever we do Blood on the Snow, it's going to be ridiculous. And our opponent is still stuck on 2 mana here. I'm just going to start jamming in with 3/3s and 4/4s. Sculptor Winter for them. No Snow Source for them, though. Let's Spirit first here. Get a Snow Duel. We have every snow land in our deck. It's pretty nuts with this curve out. With Spirit of the Alder Guard on board and Blood on the Snow in hand, being able to have all of our snow lands is pretty insane. Opponent's down to 10 now. They do have the 3rd mana now. No Snow Source for the Sculptor of Winter, though. So no 4th mana. Looks like they are on just green-black elves over there. Just going to attack all at this point. They only crack back for 4. That's if they boast the Dusk Wielder. And they have to block some stuff here or they die. If they double block Inga, we can Snakeskin Veil. To where they can't kill her, but they can't even double block her unless they're planning on using a removal spell on one of our other creatures. They're pretty much forced into chumps here, and that is how it will be. Down to 7. And we pass the turn. Wow, I could have gone untapped land and used my Slumber Mound. This is another position we could have done the rudest Slumber Mound in the history of mankind. Blown up their swamp. In 1v1, both players are our opponents. You're just trying to win. That's how 1v1 is. It's probably okay to make those kind of plays, but I'm in like a tiny bit of a commander mindset where like I don't want to just land destruction the player who's already missing lands. But it's like it's 1v1, it's not multiplayer. What, is the table gonna team up on you or something? Like, no. Alright, well, that was a really rough game for our final opponent, but that will give us our 7th win. Super happy for that. A 7-1 run here with another sweet green-based snow deck in Kaldheim. Kaldheim, well, green is just like the strongest color in Kaldheim, and there's a lot of great ways to fix your mana with all the dual lands in the format. Spirit of the Alder Guard being phenomenal. Yeah, just a sweet deck all around. Again, the biggest problems with the deck, the biggest flaws were in the mana base. We even had to cut some of our cool non-basic lands to make our mana base even somewhat playable, since we had no green-based dual lands. So our dual lands are not the most ideal colors. Our mana base is not great because we have a lot of cards that require double green, double black, double red, double blue, all over the place, and that did punish us a few times. We never lost a game because of it. The only game we lost was due to some rough mulligans. I guess I should have mulled the 5, but I was not going to win against that deck on a mull to 5 anyway, so yeah, really nice showing from the deck. Even our biggest flaw, our mana base, did not hit us too hard. So, well, that is going to end today's video. I hope you all enjoyed this draft as much as I enjoyed playing it. If you want to see some more videos like this, just stick around on the channel. You can leave a like, comment, and subscribe to let the YouTube algorithm know to send you some more in your recommended feeds. And as always, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you soon for some more Magic Arena.